course. Wake the Dead.
Wake the dead! Wake the dead!
With Sharon McCann.
Greetings. Welcome to Wake the Dead. Today, we have a first-time guest that I'm very excited to meet, Miss Sharon King. Welcome, Sharon. Hello.
Thank you so much for this invitation. I'm really looking forward to our time together. And hello, everybody out there watching.
This is wonderful. You and your work, you deal with birth trauma and healing from that trauma. Can you tell us about yourself and your work a little bit, please?
I can. Well, I would say in utero and birth trauma and those very early years, that's my main focus on where I work, because that is I always say this is the foundations of who we are.
Right.
Yeah, so those from the point of conception through to the first 7 years of life, we are just downloading programs, belief systems, experiences, and that shapes us. That's our foundation of who we are. So as a trauma therapist, I learned to do EFT in 2007, which is also known as emotional freedom technique or tapping. I then went on to learn something called matrix reimprinting, which incorporates the concept of tapping, but you're actually working with your younger self. Or some people like term that as your inner child.
So you're like connecting it to the earlier memory as you tap? Is that what it is? It's connecting to that memory spot? Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so EFT was designed to help you in the moment with how you're feeling, but also to heal past traumas, past memory traumas. But the gap with EFT always seemed to be those subconscious areas, those areas that we don't have a conscious memory of. And this is where matrix reimprinting kind of filled that gap, because you can very easily go back in what I call, go back down your timeline. Everything that happens to us is recorded in our subconscious right from the point of conception.
Right.
But we just need to be able to access it. So the tools, the techniques that I use help us get back to those subconscious memories. Wow. But it works for all trauma, whether it's a trauma that happened last week, trauma that happened during conception.
Wow. So you can kind of go back and forth in the memory of the person.
Absolutely. And what's important to know is that unresolved trauma keeps repeating itself until it's resolved.
Huh.
So there's often a pattern. Okay, so for instance, how we're born, that experience may repeat itself, not the exact experience, but let's just say, give an example of you were separated from your mum at birth, and that was your first experience of abandonment. Okay, and then that baby makes a belief around the fact of why it's been abandoned. It's because mum doesn't love me, or I'm unlovable. And the baby's hardwired to want to connect and bond, to feel safe. But now we've separated them from mum, so now they're in an unsafe environment. So this is, like I say, the foundations, either at birth or in utero, when that first, people call it breaking the bond, happens. So I know you're keen to talk a little bit about circumcision. So that is a massive time of breaking the bond. And a break in the bond can be something that is a massive trauma to the baby, or something that feels like a massive physical trauma, but it can also be an emotional trauma or mental trauma. So separation from mum at birth, for instance. You know, most people will not see that as a big problem, but it sets up a pattern, it sets up a belief system, and that belief system keeps repeating itself, is I'm not safe, I'm abandoned, I'm not lovable, and then that carries on throughout your life with all the relationships that you form. You have that underlying current of not being safe, not feeling valued, not feeling loved, not feeling heard, not feeling seen. And it just repeats itself. And then, you know, eventually you get married and you have kids yourself. And if that trauma is not healed, then that pattern recreates itself within your relationship and with your children.
Right. I heard myself in there for a minute. I was kind of affected by those words when you tell me that, because I relate to that.
Yeah, me too.
So,
I had my own separation from mum birth experience, which is why I feel like I was drawn to specialize in this area. You know, because most of us have a niche in life, and it tends to be, quite often comes from unresolved trauma, like yourself, my darling.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's why I keep harping on the circumcision, because it really affected me, obviously. And I had separation just like you, you know, and they, I guess, like, I was in the intensive care and all that, and they were doing all the treatments, and I don't know what else was going on, you know what I mean? Like, some people, I mean, there's dark black magicians that work for those types of jobs sometimes, and I wonder if there's other stuff going on, you know what I mean, besides the physical trauma, if they're doing other things with the spiritual level, you know.
Well, unfortunately, if you're conceived and born into a family that's already part of that dark
Right, like a
magician side,
generational, yeah,
generational, right. they start on the baby in utero.
Yeah,
By
we've learned
creating
about
trauma
that.
with the mother. Yeah.
Yeah, like so you and your work starts in the utero from conception, and I guess by learning how the SRA people do, we can learn about all of our brains and psychology. And so we see how the ritual abusers, the generational ritual abusers, will attack the fetus like before it's even a fetus, right? They will make it, give it a toxic environment. They will use the ultrasound on it. Tell us what do we have to be aware of?
Well, I think what would be good is to explain a little bit about trauma, if that's okay with you. I want to start with how trauma is created, because that's important to know on A, how to heal it, but B, how they also create the trauma, why they create the trauma, why trauma works.
Yeah, that's the key to everything. Please tell us about that, please.
All right, let's talk about that. So, the belief system that I have, that I've been taught, is that at a point of trauma, okay, so we have this fight, flight, freeze response, right? If we can fight our way out of a situation, or we can flee and run away, successfully flee and run away, or successfully fight our way out of a situation, then there may be just a little bit of trauma in there, but it's not massive. But if we're trapped, if we're not able to run away, if we're not able to fight and stand up for ourselves, our autonomic nervous system puts us into freeze. All right. So this is why, you know, if you talk to a woman who's been sexually abused, for instance, and men too, it's like they blame themselves because they froze in that moment and they could no longer fight, they could no longer run away. So,
and then it'll make a cycle of, oh, it's my fault, and then I deserve it, and all that crap. Oh,
yes,
man,
yes,
that's terrible.
yes. But the important thing to know is that this isn't a failure on nature's side. This is a plus that nature's tried to give us for survival. It's like the deer running away from a leopard. You know, if the deer will run, then the leopard catches the deer, then the deer will maybe try and fight with its antlers, but then it will go into the freeze response, and it will even go into faint in the slim hope that the leopard's already eaten dinner that day and it will walk off and leave, you know, your
it's not
body.
fun to chase a dead thing anymore.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
A cat,
it's not fun. Yes.
Like cats will throw around a little mouse that's half dead and they keep it alive. And
yeah. But eventually the mouse, you know, some of them will go into the freeze response and look dead, and then you go to pick them up and they run away.
Yeah,
so that's
good for them. They survived, right? Yes.
Possums do it all the time, apparently. They play dead.
Right.
But our autonomic nervous system does that too, in the last ditch of hope that we are going to be able to survive this. We're, you know, by playing dead, we're going to be able to survive.
Right.
So in those moments of freeze, right, we can't think. We can't think our way out of the situation anymore. Okay. And part of our consciousness kind of gets split away from us, right? So we don't take on the full enormity of what's happening. All right. And it creates what I call a trauma capsule. So think about a chicken egg that has a shell, right? So the shell of the egg is the shock that holds all the gooey emotions in place. The emotions, the beliefs, the thoughts, the experience that happened is like in a trauma capsule, or think of an egg, right? So you've got this hard exterior, and it's the shock that's protecting that younger self in that moment of freeze.
I see.
Right? So just before an event happens, we can see an event about to happen, like just say a car accident, right? We know just before it happens, or we know something's going to fall off and land on our big toe, fall off the side, and so we go, right? That is the moment when we take that breath. That's the moment that we go into the freeze response. So part of our consciousness gets split off and held in time. Okay, so this is what I refer to as our younger self, right? And as children, we've got a lot of vital energy. So all the different traumas we've had, you know, there'll be an aspect of you that, you know, when you went through your circumcision experience, you would have had that disassociation. You would have had that little part of you created at that time in that trauma capsule. Now, that trauma capsule is not influenced by time. So without wanting to trigger you too much, I'm going to say there's still that part of you that's reliving this trauma until you go in, you break the shell by tapping through the shock of what happened, helping the younger self get through that shock of what happened. And then you can access all the other emotions, maybe the rage, the disbelief, the fear, you know, the pain, the physical pain, the emotional pain. Yeah. And you go through and you help that younger self move through that trauma and out the other side. Now, in order to heal trauma, we need connection. All right. So
to trust somebody.
To trust somebody, yes.
Oh, man. Okay.
But if that person is the person that you deem has created that trauma for you, then you're never going to trust them.
Right.
You know? And unfortunately, during a circumcision or even a birth experience, the person that we trust least is going to be our mothers.
Right.
You know, if I talk about my own birth experience, I'll get onto the darker side of things.
Please talk about.
But my own so first of all, I was my mum went to hospital. My dad wasn't allowed to stay. This was in the 1960s. So my dad was sent away. The midwife told my mum, the baby's coming too quick, so we need to slow the labour down, so we're going to give you some pethidine. I
Oh,
know.
what is that? What is that?
Very, very crazy. So think about it from my baby South's point of view, right? I'm head down. I'm like, okay, today's the day, 29th of January. I'm coming into the world,
Right.
right? And all of a sudden, my mum is hit up with pethidine, right?
Oh,
My mum is... Pethidine is a narcotic drug.
okay. I thought it
Pain
was
relief.
okay, pain relief.
No, not
Okay.
pitocin, pethidine. So it's pain
Okay.
relief, right? My
So now
mum
her
was...
muscles didn't work?
Well, pethidine's a little different to the epidural where your body stops working, but my mother went to sleep because my mum is so sensitive to drugs and alcohol. It knocked her out,
No.
right? So she's super sensitive. So she went to sleep,
So you
right?
were alone. Your dad was gone.
So,
Your mom was gone.
yes, I'm alone. And now I'm feeling woozy because the pethidine's now kicking in. And it's like, so I'm now trying to fight my way out of this tunnel where I'm now trapped because things were going beautifully and now somebody's interrupted my process. And now I'm totally on my own. So eventually I fight my way out. And my mum told me that after I was born that she was awake for, she saw me, held me for about a minute and a half were her words, before she needed to go back to sleep again. So they just shoved me in the nursery for 5 hours.
Wow.
All right. So not only did I have what I would call a break in the bond, that lack of disconnection from my mother when I was coming out, but then as soon as I got out, I was then punished, what felt like being punished, being thrown in a nursery with lots of other screaming babies. So when I went back to work with my baby self during the birthing process, so my work is you go through all the points of trauma of your birth, or if you're a woman giving birth, going through the points of trauma, and you tap through those traumas to help you process and move through them. And then I usually go back and I do the birth with that person, how it was meant to be, and natural birth. I guide them through the natural birth process, and then I guide them through the bonding process. So that connection is remade, and it doesn't matter how old the person is. I've worked with people in their 80s on their own birth experience, and they still got to experience that feeling of being connected and bonded with their mother.
Huh. Wow.
All right. So when you start working in what I call the quantum field, it makes changes in your belief system, in your physical body and your mind, and it changes your memory up to a point. All right. So I can still, let's say it's a trauma that happened last week, I could still tell you what happened in that trauma, but I wouldn't have any emotional charge about it. But I would also, what naturally happens when you're working in the quantum field is like what you wish could have happened starts to happen.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's like this, I describe it as like a theatre technique. Is like, you're a director of your own play, you're in there, you're working with all the other people. So on a birth experience, I'd be working with the mother, the father, the doctors. When you go back, you're tapping on the baby, you're tapping on the doctors, or home birth, whatever. So
because all those elements are elements of the memory, and
yes,
so you can tap all that.
yes,
Interesting.
Yes. And the surrogate work, when I work with mothers on the birth of their children, let's just say a physical example of eczema, right? Eczema is usually created by separation, right?
Really?
Anything that comes up on the skin, and the lungs. So lungs is usually about grief, and lungs and skin are very much linked. So separation, grief, right? On grief from separation. Yeah, can express itself as asthma or eczema. Now, if you go back and you heal that very early time of separation, or maybe your mother was experiencing grief, maybe her mother died or something while she was pregnant, then that grief will then transmit to the baby and may affect their skin.
Huh.
Yeah. So you
Wow.
tap on that
Dude.
trauma. I know. You tap on that trauma
Oh, like
and
I
the
don't
eczema
have
goes
eczema,
away.
but my son he did have cradle cap, and it was like,
Uh-huh.
and his mom, we don't need to talk about her, I guess, like, but there was, she was hurting.
Yeah.
There was, man, wow, there was grief, like legit grief, and
Mm.
wow, that's very interesting. I mean, it's just now getting better, and he's like 6, you know what I mean? It was like, it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
going all the way till he was like 5.
Mm. See, one of the other areas that I work in is the generational link and how we pass our traumas down through the generations. And if you just one thing, if you take one thing away from this interview, is to understand that we are always trying to heal the traumas, whether it's our own traumas, our ancestral traumas, our past life traumas. I work in all of those areas. It's all about trauma completion. And if we can have trauma completion, then we can have a freer, happier life. Which, of course, is not what the Dark Lords want us to have. So.
Right.
They don't want us
Yeah.
to be trauma-free.
Right. I
Uh-huh.
mean, the more traumatized we are, the easier we are to be kept in the
Control.
cage. Right.
Yes, yes. And the more powerless we feel. All right. Just think of a child that's gone through multiple childhood traumas, and that freeze response. The more we learn, especially in utero, I talk a lot about. Okay, so how I describe this, when conception happens, our soul, there is a connection made with the soul, and you may, if you look on YouTube, there's a video of conception that talk about the flash of white light.
Yeah,
All
there
right,
was
so
a new video that just came out, I think, from like Asia or something that got it on video. But yeah, please continue.
awesome. Please share that
Yeah,
with me.
yeah, I need to find it and download it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yes. So there's a flash of white light that's created, and now my belief is, I know there's lots of other religious beliefs about different times, the soul doesn't enter the baby until that first breath is taken after birth, and bollocks, like bollocks, bollocks, bollocks. That's all I'm going to say to that one. There is a soul connection right from the start of conception. That flash of white light, that's the soul. And I believe the soul, we choose our parents for the experiences that we want. I talk about coming in with a backpack. So in the backpack we have all the parts of the ancestral trauma that we want to we've contracted to take on and to heal. The past life, some of the unresolved past life traumas or current life traumas in other dimensions, however you want to look at it. And then we have our own mission. My mission, I believe, is to come here and to educate people and help people resolve their early life traumas, their birth traumas and utero traumas. That's my mission. But in order to do that mission, I also needed to pick parents that would, give me the birth experience I wanted. Because when I went back to work with my baby self, when she was in that NICU or nursery, whatever you want to call it, when I started working with her, she was very upset, but it turned out, like, as I'm connecting with her and talking to her, she's telling me that she's trying to get out of her body to try and help the other babies that are crying, right? Because she can feel, she has her own pain, but she can empathically feel their pain too.
Wow.
All right. And it was too much for her. It was too much. Not only did she have to bear her own pain, but she could feel the pain of these other babies who were also separated from their mother. And I could see her trying to get out. And it was just like, oh my God. And I got the realization that this point that I'm witnessing now is what set me up to be working with people to help them with their birth trauma, to heal the separation after birth, and also to prevent that trauma from happening. So when I work with pregnant women, I help them prepare for birth, to heal their own birth trauma, to heal any trauma of giving birth that they've, to other children that they've previously had, or even losses, miscarriages, abortion, termination, stillborn, You know, that grief, that experience, that influences the baby. You know, sexual abuse, we were talking, you know, beforehand about sexual abuse. You know, all of that energy is contained within the mother's field, and that gets passed down to the baby. Right. So going back to my baby self, who's laying there, and I'm realizing that this is where this was set up for me to be doing this work. But also, because there's no time here in the quantum field, there's not linear time as we think about it. It was like, once I healed over that trauma, once I explained to her that my mother loved her to pieces, and had my mother not been a yes to authority, worship the doctors, midwife type of person, right, she would have said, fuck no, you stick your pethidine where the sun don't shine. I don't want any. Yeah, but she didn't, because she didn't know, and she was a good person.
No one thinks they can say no. They're like, oh, yes, he's a doctor.
Yes. Yeah. So I tell my younger self that, you know, had mum been given a choice and known the outcome, she would have said no. So in that moment of understanding of why she wasn't with her mother, I'm talking about her in the third person, because this is how I work. Yeah, there's a level of disassociation when you work with your younger self that keeps you safe. It's not like talk therapy or EFT where you have to be associated with all the emotions. You can keep that level of dissociation from your younger self. So it's like, I asked my younger self, what did she want? And she obviously wanted to be back with my mum. So I just pick her up out of the crib. But she said, before we go, can we help the other babies? So I said, yes, okay. So we went round and we tapped on the other babies, and then I brought a nurse in, and I said, right, get those babies back to the mothers now. You know, so awesome. I got my bossy boots on, and we got all the babies back, and then my younger self was happy to go back to her mum. Wow. And then my baby self went through the bonding process with my mum, because I didn't forgive my mum, and I didn't know that I hadn't forgiven my mum until that point. And I realized that whenever I saw my mum as a child, my mum, I think, may have had ME, chronic fatigue, something like that. So she slept a lot. So whenever I saw my mum sleeping, instead of, you know, maybe making our tea or looking after my brother, because I did the majority of that work, then I started this resentment. There was this resentment between me and my mum, but I couldn't name it, and I couldn't tell you why it was there. But I realized in that moment, that's where that resentment, you're not there for me. You're not there to take care of me. You don't love me. I don't trust you. Yeah. Wow. So then we went back, healed that separation trauma. And then thankfully I did that session about a year before my mother died. So that final year, we could have a closer connection. We could have a more honest connection, that I didn't get frustrated and angry with her whenever she opened her mouth. Do you know what I mean? I had more compassion and understanding for her. And it was not conscious. None of it was conscious. You know, if somebody said, do you love your mother? I said, well, of course I did. But there was always that underlying energy going on. Yeah. And I'm so happy to have been able to heal that before she passed away.
Wow. That's amazing. That is just wonderful. What did she think? Did she feel more connected to you? Did you talk to her about that? I mean,
you know, I never
in that last year or whatever.
Yeah, in that last year, I think also because, you know, I've written a book called Heal Your Birth, Heal Your Life, and when I gave her the book and asked her to read it, she put it to one side, and then she picked up one of her fantasy books. You know, and I don't know that she ever read my book.
It hurts.
Yes.
Hurts.
But that's where she was at. You know, she would rather, you know, read her fantasy books than get stuck into reality. And that's totally fine.
Right.
I remember giving her... Yeah, sorry. It hurts.
It must hurt her to know that you are expressing all of this pain that you had. And she doesn't
It would have... Yeah, had she known that was in the book,
Okay.
then yes, that was probably her protection, but probably a subconscious connection going, oh, you know what, I don't want to look at that. And I totally get it. A lot of people are like that. I work with parents that have autistic children, like perfectly functioning, speaking children before they have their multiple jabs.
Right. Their
And then all of
will visit.
Their will visit, yes. And then all of a sudden, this baby who's, a toddler that's talking 3 different languages, all of a sudden can't speak one, and that is usually the point where most mothers will be okay with doing the birth, but they do not want to, or you were talking about, your own mother around the circumcision.
Right.
Most mothers do not want to look at the fact that they caused harm to their baby, even though they were doing the best they could with the knowledge and understanding they had at the time.
Right.
And that is always my reframe with people. So anybody listening to this, if you're being highly triggered by this, then please know that this information you probably didn't know back then, right? My mother didn't know anything about that. Your mother probably didn't know anything about
She
any
told
of that.
me, yeah, she when I yelled at her, she was her excuse was that her father had to have it done when he was 12 because there was some kind of problem.
Medical problem.
Right. And I realize now that it was because he was like, now that I've learned about the functioning of what is missing from myself, but I mean what was supposed to be there, like he was probably retracted when he was young, and then
yes,
when he got older it was problematic because it healed wrong, so they had to circumcise because like you're not supposed to retract when they're babies, and
exactly.
And the doctors tell people they have to do that. And so like when he got to be mature enough to be like puberty, it was a problem. And she told me about how much it hurt him. So she decided to do it to me when I was a baby.
Because babies feel no pain.
Right.
And you're not going to remember.
She's so just, yeah.
But
so like, but it's ignorance.
She think she was doing her best.
Exactly. From her knowledge, like and it's like I want to shake her and yell, but I mean, she is ignorant, and I have to accept that. And like, she was in charge of my body. She created it, and her ignorance led to this. And like, ignorance really is how they get it done in the first place. They don't tell, they don't give informed consent, and no one ever knows if it's ever a botch because the kid leaves the hospital and see you later. Like, like who knows what kind of mutilation is had. Like it's all mutilation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's all deliberate mutilation. Right. That's what really, yeah, that's the annoying part about it. It's not
they
really
deliberately
done.
Told her to do it. And she was like, oh yeah, they told my dad to have it done, and like it had to be done. And yeah, like they intentionally. So tell us about that. This, because you understand that the people that the psychopaths that dominate our society, they dominate our minds, and to abuse us at the core of the foundation of our mental development is key for them, right?
Absolutely. So remember what I said about sorry, excuse me, creating that trauma capsule.
Yeah.
All right. And the more trauma capsules that they can create early on, the easier it is for that person to be disassociated from their body.
Okay. Just like the generational abused,
yes,
multiple personality people that have like defined separate personalities because of this trauma. Like,
yes,
those are little eggs that are given a name and have their own life.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes. And then they become quite strong So those trauma capsule, those eggs, become because the level of trauma is so high, and then if you add more information into there, then those younger selves then can jump into your body. I've had the experience of I had an experience when I was 13 of being raped, and I was disassociated from that experience up until the point that I went to New York and went to this male strip show that I would never normally go to. And I was triggered by what was being enacted on the stage. And it was almost like it was just a setup of what happened to me. Like, I was carried up the stairs by other people, and then locked in a room with somebody. And the enactment on the stage, it was this poor woman's birthday, and the guys came out, they picked her up, they carried her onto the stage, and then one of them started enacting some sexual, but not actually doing it, but pretending. So I became very, 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 very uncomfortable. And then I asked myself the question, why do I feel uncomfortable? And my 13-year-old self just jumped fully into my body. And I became my 13-year-old self. And I started shaking. And like, shaking's good because this helps release the freeze response. But in that moment, I mean, literally, my friend was having to walk with me up the road, tapping on me. Yeah.
She knew about tapping.
Oh yeah, we were there teaching together. So
Wow.
we
Okay,
both
so this
worked together.
okay,
Yeah.
Wow.
So then, but that was the association. My 13-year-old self was in my body, and I was reliving that experience. So when people talk about the multiple personalities, it's because that traumatized self has jumped back in and is now in the driving seat of the body.
Right.
Most people will know if you have an argument with your partner or your mother or somebody, and you look at them and go, "Oh my God, they're acting just like a 4-year-old." That's because they are. Their 4-year-old self has jumped in and is in control of the steering wheel of the body right now and is acting out like a 2-year-old having a tantrum, or a 4-year-old, or a teenager. So this is how they create these alters, all these extra personalities, and all they are very strong forms of our traumatized younger selves. And they get to come in and they get to be in charge of the body. They get to drive the car for a while.
So like if they have enough of those, then like any kind of emotional reaction, they like, an angry dad comes home from work and the wife doesn't have the food ready and turns into a 4-year-old, right? Because like you can't deal with
yeah, exactly that.
Wow.
Exactly that.
And like they have been the satanic controllers have been infantilizing society. Really, they have like been I mean they sexualized diaper wearing, but I'm just saying they infantilize us into being like totally helpless, ignorant, emotional babies, so that we're easy to control that way, because they know how, like, if you punch a kid in the face that's 4 years old, he's going to react like a 4-year-old, and so they know how to deal with.
They do. So think about, all the things, and I'll just touch on a few hits. So the fashion now is because there's so much more infertility, created infertility.
Right. Especially with all the poisons. Yeah.
Yes. We now have a big trend in IVF.
Of course.
Right.
Right.
So
Bill Gates is investing in them.
Exactly. Yeah. So your first experience of connection, which should be connection, a spiritual experience for the baby coming, or the soul making that first connection to the egg inside the mother, is now being created in a bloody petri dish. right? I've worked with two sisters that were both harvested at the same time. So they were twins. One was frozen and was born 2 years later, but they were both harvested at the same time. Now she would say things to me like, because I work with her sister, she said, I just feel frozen.
Wow.
Like she didn't even know what she was saying to me. I just feel frozen. It's like every time I try and move forward in my career, I just feel frozen. I feel like I just can't move forward. And I'm going, yeah, that's because you're an IVF baby, and you were held back for 2 frigging years.
Unbelievable. How do you
So-
heal that? Jeez.
Oh, well, we did. We
Okay.
did. And another lady said to me, you never believe this, she said, but, all my relationships, there's always been a third person in my relationship. I go, tell me about that then. What do you mean? And she said, well, every boyfriend I have, he's either he either cheats on me with another woman, or his mother's involved, and do you know what I mean? Or the brother's jealous, or there's always a third person in the relationship. And I have just noticed this pattern, but I don't know where it comes from. I went, okay. So tell me about your conception, your birth. Well, I was an IVF baby. And it was like, well, of course, because there was a third person. There was mum's eggs, dad's sperm, and then there was the third person who was putting them together.
Wow.
So
that's amazing how that can imprint on us, and we can grow into.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, like, do you remember the book Brave New World? Do you remember the beginning of that? It's Aldous Huxley. They talk about what they do to the embryos and the fetuses. They grow them in like petri dish, and they have a caste system. They got alpha, beta, like that, and the alphas aren't abused. They're allowed to grow natural. And then you got the A minus, and they get, they shake them up a little bit. And then the betas, like they get some alcohol in there, and, and they shake up the vials, and then they got gamma people who are just retarded, just like basically the same as what they're doing with the injections at the well visits to make autistic children. And the gammas have this, they got the patterning of you and Cameron. They got tapes playing in their pillow that says, I'm glad I'm a gamma, at least I don't have to think a lot like the alphas, and it's like it's interesting because it seems like that's what's happening in real life. They're abusing the babies, like in the womb, to create the different stages of the caste system.
Yes, exactly. Just if you can just understand that for the baby, even just as an egg being inside the mother's womb, there is that heartbeat, there is that connection, there's that energetic connection. But inside a petri dish, where's the connection? Yeah, you may get passed through different people, do you know what I mean? But there's no human connection. All right. If a baby's born and put straight in an incubator, the baby starts to bond with the lights, with the beeping sound, with the, we are designed to bond, right? And if we can't bond with another human being, then we bond with the technology around us, So, the other point that I really want to talk about here is just that, I mean, there's so many points I can go into, but a really important point to know is that, why do we cut the cord within the first 10 seconds of the baby being born?
So their blood is not there? So that they steal the blood? They sell the cord blood too, don't they?
Yes.
And the cord. And,
Yes. Yeah. They get $50,000 per freaking.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Wow. And I know they make money from the fibroblast of the foreskins, and that's thousands of dollars too. It's ridiculous.
But one thing that a lot of people don't realize, and I learned this from the lady who, I can't remember her name right now, but I interviewed her about the lotus birth. Now, the lotus birth is where you keep the cord connected. So first of all, the blood, right? When the baby's born, that first 20 minutes after the baby's born, if you leave that cord connected, there's 30% of the blood supply that baby needs is pumped into the body, right? It helps to inflate the lungs. There's stem cells, it's like oxygen. It gives the baby, you wouldn't need the vitamin K flipping shot if you just left the cord connected. Right?
And you wouldn't need it if you don't cut them as their babies. They don't need the blood clots if they're not going to be mutilated by a knife.
Exactly. Right. I know. So that is important to know. But if you keep the placenta and everything, the afterbirth that comes out, you put it in a sack with or a bowl with some herbs, right? And you allow that. You keep that with your baby. You do not disconnect your baby from that until after about 3 days it naturally dries up, and the baby will remove it itself, or it will just drop off, right? So you have a very neat disconnection from it. But over those 3 days...
3 days, wow.
Yes. Over those 3 days, the consciousness that is held within the placenta and everything that's associated with it, the baby receives that energetic consciousness. And those babies are the most connected, spiritually connected adults, babies, children that you can have if you keep everything connected. And they bloody well know that. They know that you are not going to be as spiritually connected if you cut that cord. And then your physical body struggles because you're down 30% of the blood that you should have. You're down 30%, the stem cells you should have, And then you add on the extra trauma on top of that of circumcising the little boys. I had I'm just going to say it. I had a rabbi from Israel on one of my Heal Your Birth courses, because I teach practitioners to do what I do.
Great.
At the time, it was called Matrix Birth Reimprinting. And he was totally on board with all of the things I'm talking about, with the cord around the neck and C-section traumas and how this psychologically affects us and how we express it in the world. Ourselves in the world is, Dr. William Emerson says if you go into his doctor's surgery at 50 years old and give him all your physical conditions, he'll tell you exactly how your birth was.
Wow.
So, where was I going with that?
The Jewish guy agreed with everything.
Oh, the Jewish guy, thank you. Yes.
Yep.
So I asked, as soon as I got to the circumcision part, and saying that is a massive trauma for the baby. The baby's experiencing the most immense amount of pain, because you're cutting off a part of the body, and babies actually
and you're holding it down. Right.
You're strapping it down. You have more pain receptors as a baby. You feel pain more strongly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm teaching this. I'm talking about the damage it does to the emotional brain, the lifetime damage that happens, how people end up with either PTSD or narcissism or whatever because of this experience. And I said, and he got highly triggered and was going, no, not true.
He can't.
Feels
it's
no pain.
The trauma made
so
a
I
block.
Said, why do you do it? And he said, well, our belief is that it makes the man a better fighter.
Oh, really? Fighter. That's interesting.
So what does that tell you?
That's interesting. And what are they doing? They're like burning children alive with bombs. I mean, they're like the Gaza is only children. It's like the 16-year-old is the average.
So think about the disassociation from the pain. Right? Yeah.
And
so I was
also like in the old days of when the Jews started, they had, when they were on the battlefield, if they killed someone, they would chop off his foreskin as a trophy to prove that he killed somebody. Because nobody except a dead man is going to let you cut that thing off. Okay. And then, so like, there would be dowry. If you're gonna buy your wife, you gotta pay 100 foreskins, or how many foreskins to the dad. Like, it's very sick and weird, and it's
It
about
is.
dominating the other. And why
Yes.
is it? Why would he be a better fighter if there's no foreskin? Because his enemy can't steal it from him when he's dead. Like, is that maybe? I mean,
No.
I mean, yeah, right.
I can explain that one.
Please
I can
talk
explain that
about
one.
it. Please, yes.
From a trauma point of view, think about it from a trauma point of view. All right. So remember what I said about shock and disassociation. All right.
Yeah.
So we go. The bit that I want to explain first before we go into that.
Okay.
My belief as the soul entering the body in the womb. Right. If we are in the womb of a loving mother, right? Yes, she has her shit going on, but predominantly she's, happy. She's in a good relationship. Life is okay. Right? Life is good. So there's no big traumas that happen whilst you're a baby in utero. So you have the egg and the developing baby. Think of the soul being like a glass of water, and you just slowly pouring in as the baby grows, more and more of the soul connections made. All right. And it's just a gentle process. And then, yes, after birth, there may be a bigger dollop of soul that's put into the body. But if that woman's experiencing trauma, let's say she's in an abusive relationship, right? So babies learn to perceive the world through the mother's experience. So if every other day mum's getting the crap beaten out of her or blah blah blah, then that gentle pouring into the soul, it's like it's not safe, and the soul jumps back out again. All right. And then, like, okay, so we have 2 days of safety, and then we jump back in again. So this is where we learn very early on how to disassociate. At the slightest little time of trouble, we get the hell out of our body, and then we can't function, we can't think, we go into freeze. We're like, you must know these like highly sensitive people who can't function in the world because they're constantly being triggered out of their body. Right. And most of those are unfortunately in the spiritual world, because they're out of their body, they're more spiritually connected. But ask them to, make you a cup of tea or do something practical, that, this is the extreme. Right. So what they say at that time of circumcision, and it can go either way, right? So it's either going to make that baby turn into a person who disassociates from pain very easily, but also may have a lot of rage. A good warrior.
Right.
Disassociates from reality. Also has a lot of rage. And the rage is usually at the mother, or the doctors, but mainly at the mother. So has this internal anger and rage going on, plus the ability to disassociate from emotions and feelings.
Wow.
That's going to make a really good soldier.
Man.
But on the flip side of that, it could turn you into a highly sensitive person where you can't function. So it weakens the man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So that person, one of the case studies that I wanted to share was, I was working with a guy who had such sensitivities to strip lights. He'd go in the supermarket and the noise of the refrigerators, right? So he was sound sensitive, he was light sensitive, he was sensitive to smell. If the cleaning ladies had been into the apartment block where he lived and cleaned the floor with detergent, then he would almost go into anaphylactic shock because of the smell.
Wow.
Right? So he was triggered by light, he was triggered by sound, and he was triggered by smell. All of which are controlled by our emotional brain. Right? He told me that at 7 years old, that he had multiple food allergies. So what happened to him at 7? His father took him to the doctor. They put him down on a trolley or on the bed in the doctor's surgery. They flipped him over with the lights on. His father had to hold him down while they put these rows of needles into his back with doing the allergy test.
God.
Right? So this was like a repeat trauma, right? But he didn't get it. He didn't see it to begin with. So we worked with the 7-year-old self. And then I happened to say to him, look, I know you're American and there's a very high chance you're going to say yes to this, but were you circumcised? And he said, yes, I was circumcised as a baby. I said, well,
of course, who was
look
it?
At the
Everybody.
pattern.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, look at the pattern. Right?
So they held him down when he was a baby, and then they held him down again when he was 7.
7. So that is what we call, people talk about PTSD and complex PTSD. The complex PTSD is when you have trauma after trauma after trauma. So he was already traumatized. He'd gone into the sensitive side as a child, otherwise he wouldn't have allergies. Now, all food allergies come from shock, unprocessed shock in the body, and from a belief I'm not safe, right? So
Really?
Fight, flight, freeze. When you go into the freeze response, or when you go into a trauma's happening and you either need to run away, to fight, or to freeze, your digestion stops.
Right.
Because your body doesn't need to be digesting food when you're running away from a predator.
Keep the blood for your legs to run.
Yes, exactly. Right. All right. So we have this. So the digestion stops. Now think about multiple traumas, right? Digestion stops, and then the good bacteria starts to deteriorate and the bacteria starts to take over. So allergies on a physical level are all created by bad gut bacteria being in charge in the stomach. So you need to, on a physical level, you need to reduce the bad bacteria and promote the good bacteria. But you cannot do that because think about these bacteria have their own consciousness. All right? So if you're carrying that level of trauma, that level of shock that's unprocessed, then those cells, those little bacteria are still going to be reproducing that experience. So your digestion, digestive problems happen. I think it was Dr. Robert Scare that talked about when we lived in tribes, and we still live in tribes, right? But we just live in different tribes, and we still have invading tribes. But let's go back in time when we allegedly lived in tribes, and the invading tribe would come in, right, to take over.
And steal our foreskins.
Steal your foreskins, but also to steal your women.
Right.
Right. So women and children are designed to freeze. Men are designed to fight.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So this is why more women have more gut issues, is because even as women, our traumas get stored in our gut. Whereas men have to try and process that because they need to be able to fight. So a highly traumatized man is not going to make a very good fighter.
That's right. Yeah, they send them home with a
on one side, but the other side, the ones that can disassociate from the pain and to go into that narcissistic, self-serving thought process, they're going to be your good fighters.
Right.
So the invading tribe come in. The men have to fight. All the good fighters, let's just say the invading tribe win, all the good fighters that survive are going to be assimilated into the tribe because we want to make our tribe stronger.
Right.
The women and children are then assimilated. Some of the children may get killed, but the women are going to be assimilated into the tribe. So the freeze response protects the women and children from going out and fighting because they would be killed because, we're not as strong as fighting men. So can you see our body still responds in the same way? This is why we've got all the immigrants coming into the country, because we want people to believe that we are being taken over.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yes.
So they put that on the Twitter, and then that creates the ancient chemical response of invaders. Like,
Yes.
and look, and all the ones that they put on the news, it's all dudes about like 20 something. You know, there's no women or children coming. It's all, you know, even the comedians talk about that. And it's like,
Exactly.
yeah, it creates a fear in everybody. And then like people that used to be sane, or you know, some people that specific people that I know about, like all of a sudden people are saying like, oh, Hitler was right, and oh, we should, you know, we're what power. Like what? Like it's really weird. Like then it's like they're tribing up again.
Yes,
You know
they are
what I mean?
tribing up again. Yeah.
And like, oh, we have to divide and conquer, and like, you know,
Yes.
like that's
And this is what war's all about.
Right.
Yeah, not only does it make countries money, but it also keeps the population in fear. It keeps everybody traumatized. It keeps everybody in a state of shock. And the fighting men and women nowadays get sent off to fight, leaving the rest of the people at home to be dropped bombs on and to be in that freeze response. Yeah. So that's how you keep humanity like weak and powerless. Because, you know, with the wars, with the early life experiences, yeah, we are not, the system at the moment is not set up for us to thrive mentally, physically, or emotionally. You know, then we send our kids to school and they're indoctrinated in school, and you know what I mean? I'm not in, yeah. So
right, it's all just system, it's all like denting us and breaking us and destroying us everywhere they can while we're still forming.
Yes.
And then
but the good news is that you can heal the majority of those traumas. Right. And this is the work that, you know, the part I do, and I train other people to do, and other people are out there in the world doing it as well, because we understand that if we can heal our ancestral traumas or our own traumas, then, you know, going forwards, we can start to thrive rather than just survive.
Yeah, that's really what we need. And if we need to heal ourselves before we start making more babies, or at least be conscious while we make the baby.
Exactly. So this is why, you know, when I work with a pregnant woman, I want to start before she gets pregnant. You know, conscious conception, pregnancy, birth, being a new parent. Let's look at your relationship. How can we improve your relationships? And it's normally all by doing the childhood trauma work.
Wow. Yeah, because then you can clear away all the problems that you're gonna, I mean, like I yell all the time. I'm always yelling, and it's like, so I'm getting better, but I wonder like what, like I probably got a lot going on, and like I could use some help from your services, I'm sure.
Yeah, and this is how generational trauma is passed. You know,
right?
Your mum probably yelled at you. This is how you were taught parenting needs to be. You know, you've got all that unprocessed rage, and you know, your birth experience. Divorce. You know, unsuccessful relationships. You know, how can we have successful relationships when our first experiences of relationships are watching our mum and dad? You know, we learned from them. Right. You know, I watched and experienced and listened to my mum and dad fighting over money. You know, and as a child, I made the belief that I was never, ever, ever going to allow a man to control my money. You know, I was always going to, and I was born independent, literally. You know, I had to get myself out of the womb. Yeah, so I came out independent. So yes.
That's,
is that a
actually
healthy
a
belief?
good thing. I mean, right? Is it like, should you be proud of? It's man. So okay, I know I don't know how long I have you today, but do we need to start going in for a landing, or would you like to keep talking some?
We can talk a little bit longer if you've got.
Okay.
If you've got more questions.
Yeah, like okay, so there's the in utero trauma, and then there's the circumcision trauma. And then you said that we have the school thing. The school is like a kind of, that's like 5 years, 5, 6, 7. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not like there. So what do they have? Like you said before 7, because like 7 is when we start to have like a self, I guess, or like ego, or
it's that moment that at before 7 we are, think about like a blank tape recorder where we just would download our beliefs from our parents, from the world around us, and we don't question. But when you get to the age of 7, the more of the brain comes online, right? So the brain development in utero starts with the reptilian brain in the first trimester, the limbic system emotional brain second trimester, third trimester is the cortex neocortex, and then after we're born the prefrontal cortex is developed over that year. And the prefrontal cortex is developed depending on our experiences, our bonding experiences, how we're taken care of, or how well we're not taken care of. And that forms, that part of our brain is our compassion and empathy brain.
Wow.
Right? It's our most civilized brain. So the first 3 parts of the brain are developed in utero, and then the most important for us as a civilized human beings is that 4th brain growth experience.
That's where the morality is, and the care and compassion and all that.
So you think about, your baby's now 6 months old and you've got to go back to work. So now you're handing your baby off to the babysitter or the nursery or wherever it is that you're going to be, whoever is going to be taking care of your baby.
Dollars. I mean, paper dollars. There were ones and zeros and a nothing.
Yeah. So that's another interference in the it's another break in the bond, if you like, of being abandoned by your mum, because now she has to go back to work because financially, people can't pay everything if just with the father working, or maybe even single mum, that's almost even worse for the baby because, she has to go back to work earlier, so that is created there. So it's not even school. Right, it's like we're earlier and earlier we're creating that separation from the family unit, with it's being created earlier and earlier. So, and that forces the parts of the brain to develop earlier as well, and that is usually a detriment to the child as well. So children really should be kept at home until they're the age of 7. Right, and babies or children learn through play experience, and then at 7, when our left brain, we start to use more of our left brain, our logical brain. Right, that's when you can start teaching the ABCs, the logical side.
Right.
But before that needs to be play, strong connection, strong bonds, safety, and then at 7 we start to develop this ability to question and to form our own opinions about things. Up until that age, we're just downloading. But at 7, you then start to question. And that, I can't remember who says this, but, if I think it's the Jesuits, if you give me a child up until the age of 7, then I'll show you the man.
Right. That was the guy who started the Jesuits. Yeah. Yeah. And that breaking the bond with the mother, that's kind of like, that's textbook. Even in the Disney movies, they kill off the mom. Like Dumbo, they like separate the mom from the little one, and that traumatizes us. Yeah, exactly. Traumatizes the little kids watching.
Yes.
And then the highborn Englishman had to go off to like some weird school where they get buggered by the schoolmaster, and and they, that's really like, and even with public school, like they are, it's designed for replacing the bond with mom to bond with state and government and like strangers, that are.
Mhm. Yep.
And then you look back at like the warrior culture of Sparta or whatever, like they would like throw their kids away, and then they would separate the kids from the mother, and then they create these psychopaths. I mean, tell us about. Can you tell us how do you best create a psychopath? Can you answer that one?
Oh, I can absolutely answer that one.
Sweet.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to tell you about a case study, right?
Oh.
This is a real person. This is their real experience, but he wasn't my client, but he's a famous person in history.
Wow.
So,
okay, great.
all right. So when he was, I'm just trying to get the timing right, but I should remember this, but anyway. So I think when he was 3 months in utero, his father died of cancer. When he was 6 months in utero, his brother died, or it was the other way around. I think maybe the brother died first, then the father died, right? So his mum has just gone through two major losses: the loss of her husband, the loss of her son, right? They both died. She then goes into a major depression and tries to abort her son, her baby.
After the six months already.
After 6 months. So she's tried to abort her baby, and then she tries to kill herself. Right? So that is 4 death events, right? So that baby's experience, through his mother's experience of loss of a father, through his mother's experience loss of a sibling, and then his mother tries to kill him, and then she tries to kill herself. When he's born, mother can't cope, and he's handed over to his uncle. All right, and his uncle's family raise him until he's about 3. He then gets sent back to his mother. His mother's remarried. All right, and the new stepfather is extremely abusive. So he gets abused from the age of 3 until 6. He then gets returned to go to live with his uncle.
Wow.
So just think about all those different brain layers that I said. The first trimester, the first 3 months is the reptilian, which is our survival brain. So that directly would be impacting the development of his survival brain. The second trimester is the emotional limbic system. So that would have affected the development of his, and then the third trimester, the cortex, neocortex, and then the prefrontal cortex. Compassion, empathy, 0. That's how you create a psychopath.
Wow.
Would you like to have a little guess on who that person is?
There's a lot of psychopaths. Alfred Kinsey. Let's see. I don't know. Please tell us.
Saddam Hussein.
Oh, wow.
That's his early life experience.
Holy shit. And he had those rape rooms and shit. He was like doing that kind of trauma to others. And then, wow. And
now
the U.S. government hired him eagerly.
Yes.
Anyway, go ahead, please. Yeah.
Knowing what I know now, I wonder whether his mum was part of some, satanic cult.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
Right.
maybe her husband and son were sacrificed. I don't know. But I can also tell you about Adolf Hitler. When his mother was married or with his father, who was extremely abusive, and he used to regularly beat her up. So God knows how many times that baby Adolf went through the experience with his mother of near-death experience of having the crap beaten out of you, and then as a child he was continuously beaten. That's how you create a psychopath.
Right.
Through trauma.
Because your parents aren't going to save you. Like, they're the ones supposed to care for you, and they're the ones smashing your head in.
Yeah.
So, like,
but the
it just
weird
breaks
thing
inside.
Is,
like, you just love. Okay, please tell me. What's the weird thing?
But the weird thing about our psychology as a child is, and I've worked with countless, mainly women. I work, majority of my clients are women, but it's fascinating how, like, one client I worked with didn't have any childhood memories, but she always believed that she was bad and her parents were perfect. She came from the perfect family, but she was bad. And it's like, as a child, it's too far a stretch to believe that this thing is happening to you because that person is damaged. We blame ourselves.
Blame
it's
yourself,
because
right.
We're bad.
It must be, right? I mean,
it must be.
That's all occurs to us. It must be, right?
Yeah, so we can't blame them, because what would that mean? That would blow our minds. So for safety reasons, we believe that it's us that's bad, that this is happening to us because we deserve it. But that's that weird thing, the child's brain does not operate the same way as an adult. Looking back on it, you can see how, damaged your parents were in order to be able to behave like that, because they just weren't born like that, or maybe they were, but they were born like that through trauma. So it's the trauma that carries on, and if we can stop this cycle of trauma within ourselves and then have children, then it means that we're just not passing this through from generation to generation.
Right. That's the most important thing, is to because we can't change the past. And if we keep going, the future is going to be like, if we don't put our will against the wheel, then the wheel is just going to run us over. Right?
Yeah. We have to change our perception of the past. And our belief systems, our negative beliefs, they're usually based on a lie, or based on how our child mind processes things. So that's why it's important, when I work with people, is that you go in as your adult self and you work with your younger self, because you're bringing all your knowledge and understanding and your adult mind into the situation to help your baby self or your child self. And you can bring, like I did to my baby self, I explained to my baby self, Mum didn't do this because she didn't love you. She did this because she was too scared to tell the midwife where to get off. And she hadn't educated herself, on how to have a natural birth. In fact, there was no natural birth ever promoted. And it's the same nowadays. You look at how home births are vilified. Midwives today are not trained how to do natural birth. They're trained to give what drug at what time at what point, and how to fill out paperwork.
So that's not really a midwife, you know what I mean? That's like a nurse or something, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So doctors and nurses now are all in for the medicalized birth. There's a very good documentary called The Business of Being Born.
Right. I think I have
used to be on YouTube.
I haven't seen
it. Yeah, it's very, very good, and it's very eye-opening, especially when you get to the point where it talks about, you see on the medical insurance form, right, that all hospitals have to send to the insurance company, and they charged, I think it was something ridiculous, like $600 for the nurse's time for 15 minutes observing skin-to-skin contact.
Just to watch the mom hug the baby. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. The Business of Being Born. It's a very eye-opening. Yes. Yeah,
that's great. I'm definitely going to see that now. I think I downloaded it, but I haven't gotten to it yet. But that's funny. Yeah. So they want to give us the helplessness, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if mom can't help us and they're too dumb to help us, and then like your mom wasn't there to help you, your dad was pushed away, wasn't allowed to be there. And so like this is we have to take it upon ourselves because I mean, we control, okay, all right, we control the present. We can put our will into the now. And like you said, we can use our now to change how we think about the past. And
yes,
like I tried to cognize that my mother and father are ignorant and they make a mistake. And like I just try to think it, and I say I forgive, but I don't know if I feel it inside yet. And I don't, what can we do if we're not going to like sign up for sessions? Is there anything that people can, like just listeners, maybe they can recognize some of the things in their own life and like EFT you mentioned that, tell us like what are some things, some tips, maybe pointers.
alrighty. So this feeling of not wanting to forgive your mum, all right, because whatever it is that that person's done is just too massive. It's too much of a betrayal. All right. So with EFT, what we invite people to do is to, first of all, you need to state what it is that you want to be looking at. So let's just say non-forgiveness. Mum was, I'm never going to forgive mum. Let's just find a statement. I'm never going to forgive her for abandoning me or whatever, betraying me. Yeah. And you just drill down until that statement really brings up emotion. All right. And then you tune into the body. Where do you feel that energy in your body? All right. Maybe it's the sadness. Maybe it's the anger. You tell me. Let's just do a little process together. Where do you feel that energy? When you think about your mum and, how she let you down, how she betrayed you, how she was stupid, ignorant, where's the energy in your body?
I don't, how do I know? I guess it's, for some reason I am thinking about the end of my penis.
Okay. Alrighty.
I think maybe it's because I'm thinking about it, because maybe I'm having too many thoughts at once.
Yes,
but
maybe you are. But
I mean, I am sick to my stomach a little bit.
All right, my darling, that's good. Tap on the side of the hand. Just here for me. All right. Now, if that energy, that emotional energy of being sick to your stomach and that awareness on the end of your penis, if that energy had a color to it, what would it be?
Like a orange red.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And if there was a color that we could bring in that would start to lift and lighten that orange and red energy, what would you need?
I don't know. White?
Did you say white?
Yeah, I guess I'm guessing.
That's okay. Guessing's good.
Okay.
That's okay. Guessing's good. We'll just go with whatever comes first. All right.
Okay.
All right. So just imagine that white energy now just coming in to those areas, into your stomach, into that red and orange energy. And just notice that it's just starting to lift and lighten that emotion, and just keep tapping on the side of the hand there. And if there was a thought, feeling, emotion associated with that red and orange, what would it be?
I don't. I'm just. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I feel like.
Yeah. I'm putting you on the spot here, my dear, so I'm sorry about that.
And it's like it's in front of everybody too.
Yeah.
But I
give it a name. Just call it, I don't know, anything like betrayal or anger, or what would you call it? Just give it a name.
I guess betrayal.
Betrayal. All right. Okay. So tapping on the side of the hand, just repeat after me. Even though I'm feeling betrayed, I choose to accept myself.
Betrayed.
I choose to accept myself anyway.
Choose to accept myself anyway.
Okay. Even though I'm feeling betrayed.
Even though I'm feeling betrayed.
I choose to release some of this now.
I choose to release some of this now.
Yeah. Even though I've got all of this orange and red betrayal.
Even though I have all of this orange and red betrayal.
It's time to release some of this now.
It's time to release some of this now.
Okay. The next tapping point is on the top of the head. Okay. All of this orange betrayal. This orange and red betrayal.
All of this orange and red betrayal.
Okay. Beginning of the eyebrow. So beginning of the eyebrow. Feeling sick to my stomach.
Feeling sick to my stomach.
Side of the eye. This orange and red betrayal.
This orange and red betrayal.
Underneath the eye. It's safe to release some of this now.
Safe to release some of this now.
Underneath the nose. Feeling sick to my stomach.
Feeling sick to my stomach.
Crease of the chin. Can't believe my mother allowed this to happen.
I can't believe my mother allowed this to happen.
Underneath the collarbone. It's safe to release some of it now.
Safe to release some of it now.
Okay. As you connect back in to the stomach and the end of your penis there.
It's tough to talk about. Yeah, I mean, I guess it was more in my stomach.
More in your stomach. Okay. Yeah.
When I was tapping my head, I could feel gurgles in my stomach. I could actually feel it flipping over.
Right. Okay, so remember what I said about this is where we store the shock and the trauma of what happens in our stomachs. All right, so as a baby boy, that's where the trauma, yes, you had physical trauma to your penis, but the emotional trauma is being held in your stomach. So you could
weird.
just
I don't eat. I don't eat. Like, and when I do, I gorge, but then I don't eat for like all day, and then like more. And then when people don't share with me, I think they don't love me.
Yes. All right. So let's just do one more round.
Man, I'm sorry. It's not like, I mean, I don't mean to talk so much about myself. I'm sorry for everybody listening. This is a neat little experiment.
Yeah.
But thank you.
In that flipping in your stomach, do you feel like something shifted?
I guess it's different. Yeah.
Okay, different in what way?
I feel an awareness of my stomach, but it's not like a knot. It's more like it's loosened a little bit.
Relaxed a little bit. Awesome. Yeah. We've literally just done one round of tapping, right? So the concept is as you focus in on that part of the body that's holding the trauma, where the story's held, if you like, or the emotion of the story is held. The story is held in the field, but our body holds the emotion. Right. So you asked me the question, how do we work with this? Or how would somebody do it themselves? Is to just go through the tapping points and state what you feel. There's something called tap and rant. You know, if you have a lot of anger, for instance, you can just tap and rant. As long as you're tapping on the energy system, because each point is on the meridian line, and it helps the body to process the trauma, to move the trauma through the system. So all of that shock of everything that happened to you is being held in your stomach. So just by that one round of tapping, you felt that little shift. Now just think what would happen if you did 10 minutes of tapping or an hour of tapping, and literally you just tap and you can rant. You can swear, you can say whatever you like, you can cry. You just need to be honest with yourself about how you're feeling it and where you're feeling it. Wow. And then as you tap, that helps to process what happened. Wow. And then you could do a positive round of tapping, you know, even though I'm never going to forgive my mum for what she did. I mean, she really was doing the best she could with the knowledge and understanding she had at the time. And even though I consider that as really, but tell yourself that with tapping, even though it was a really shit job and I'm never going to forgive her. And, you know, blah, 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 just blah, 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 and just tap. All right. And that will help you feel lighter, because you're getting out what you're saying, but you're not just saying it to somebody or to yourself. You're moving it through your system by tapping on the acupuncture points.
Wow. So
and that's how your body starts to really top of the head,
under
beginning of the eyebrow.
All right, in between the eyebrows, right there.
Side of the eye.
Side of the
under
eye.
the eye.
Under the eye. Under the nose.
Under the nose. Crease of the chin.
Okay.
Underneath the collarbone. And you can even do one under the arm, which for women is in line with the bra strap, and for men in line with the nipple.
Okay.
And then you can go across the wrist. Or you can do some finger points. But, you know, there's many YouTube videos on just EFT tapping. You know, just the important thing is that you tune into your body and find where you feel the feeling, because that's how you gauge when the change happens. Had we not tuned into your stomach to begin with, you would probably have not noticed that flip, that relaxation.
Yeah, right.
Yeah? So it's important to bring the body into the equation of what you're doing, and not just work with the emotions, all the thoughts.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like everything that I do is like in my head, and I'm like making art,
of course,
and like not thinking about my body, you know,
because like, you've disconnected from your body when you were circumcised. You got the hell out of there.
And I didn't have any cord blood. Like I had the thing around, and I was choked.
Yes.
I was purple. And
you had a near-death experience.
Right.
And you probably from that point haven't landed back in your body yet either.
Wow. Yeah. So like the more that the controllers can traumatize everybody all the time and make us all scared all the time, that traumatizes all the moms that are making all the chemicals that are going into the placentas. And so like
and traumatizing the fathers.
Right.
Apparently it's the father's sperm that creates the health of the placenta.
Right. That's true. And so like that, yeah, right. And then what if the mom doesn't love the dad, What if the dad, like all the different levels, and they
Yes.
can put like the phone, and they can have the Tinder and the Twitter, and I mean, the next generation or the next, what they're doing, it's gonna be test tube babies. I mean, it's
Yes.
already at this point, there's more cesarean births than
Mm-hmm.
vaginal births.
Yes.
And
exactly. Deliberately. Yes.
so they're gonna further separate.
Yes.
Before we end, I guess. So what do you think about the future? How, if we don't get a handle on it, where do you see this going?
Well, the more
hospitals.
the more disconnected we are from our bodies, the more trauma that we experience early life, the easier we are to control, and the more medicalized we are, the more technology is involved, the more likely we are to want to turn towards technology as our savior. The more likely we are to bond, to bond with technology. I mean, you're already seeing kids now bonding with technology, so we all know that dystopian future that they've laid out for us, that they would like us to have, is to be, the more disconnected you are. Yes, exactly. A robot girlfriend, robot husband, baby grown inside a robot through, artificial insemination. You don't even need to carry your baby anymore. You can have a robot that does that for you.
Wow. And then the Satanists can just grow their babies in their pods. They don't even have to abuse the mothers anymore. They can just have.
Yeah. They can abuse the baby directly in the pods.
Right. Just like in Brave New World, right? So that is the future,
but my belief is this, and we're not going to get to that. My belief is that the dark controllers are going to be sorted out, because
that's right.
We have to. I always say, nobody ever books a session with me when they're feeling great and life's going great. Life has to become very uncomfortable, and often I'm the last port of call. So life has to become very uncomfortable before people are ready to change. And this is what's happening right now, is people are being forced into becoming uncomfortable to create change. And we have to, first of all, see where we are. We have to admit, even though I'm feeling X, Y, and Z, I accept myself anyway. So we have to see what's going on. It's no longer hidden. For those of us that are prepared to see, it's no longer hidden. We have to see it first. We have to then process and accept it's happened. Then we can change it.
Right.
You can't change it until you see it and you understand it.
That's right. And that's what we're doing here. We're helping people recognize and understand. And if we can have the mothers start now to help themselves, and then to think about their future conceptions, good luck having conscious conceptions around the world. I mean, it seems like it's all by accident. Like, oh, that one didn't get aborted. Well, weird. But I mean, hopefully the future, I guess maybe I got more of a glass half empty kind of look. But I mean, I do know that I have changed my life, and my dad changed his. He didn't beat us with his fist. He did not physically hit us. His dad physically destroyed him all the time. And he's lucky to be alive. And now, but he changed that, and he was still a alcoholic carpenter, and whatever.
Yes, of course.
All the other generations of Irishmen. But he changed that, and I'm not alcoholic. Like, I changed that. Like, I'm hammering away at these, like, my family, and how broken we are. And my son is like a little miracle. He's so awesome. And so that's what we need to do. All of us need to hammer away at their family and make a little miracle,
Exactly.
That's really what will fix it. and thank you so much. Here, wait. So I'm going to share this is your website and everybody can see that now. Tell us. So this is www.magicalnewbeginnings.com.
Absolutely.
Tell us about, this is where they can find you.
Yes, magicalnewbeginnings.com. I didn't realize just when I named my company Magical New Beginnings just how profound that was going to be, because I created that before I specialized in the birth. But yeah, through there, I'm going to have more and more interviews on there, so there'll be a lot of free content on there. I just need to put them all on there. But also you can book sessions with me. You can see what workshops I'm offering. So yeah, that was the one I think I did for
That's
APA.
Wonderful.
And pre and perinatal.
Okay, I wasn't. Okay, wait.
Society.
Sorry,
but
I'm
yes,
skipping around. I'm just clicking around
okay.
here.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is sessions.
Yes, and workshops. So if anybody's interested, I created my own process called the QFT, Quantum Field Tapping. But I also teach practitioners, people who've done EFT, QFT, matrix reimprinting.
Wow.
But I'm going to be doing more. I want to do more workshops for not just practitioners, but general public around the breaking of the bond. I think, you inspiring me for asking me to do this interview has made me really want to go into doing more, group works with people around, the breaking the bond and all the different areas that can happen. And, do some group healing if people are not up for the one-to-one sessions. And I want to do that with groups of people.
That would be great. I mean, and breaking of the bond is so important. I mean, maybe we could do another show and go deeper.
Absolutely.
Into that. That would be beautiful.
Love to.
That's wonderful. So yeah, these workshops, we can sign up and free masterclass. Wow.
Absolutely. That's on the 5th of January. Yes.
Wow.
But if you're in America, it's not really American time zone friendly, but there will be a recording. So
beautiful. And can we download that recording and whatever? And we can find a way to download it. So like we're speaking, you're on the other side of the planet. We're like 12 hours difference.
Yes, I live in Thailand now. Yeah. Come from the UK, but I've settled here in Thailand. Thanks to COVID. I came here for a month. Yeah. I came here for a month in March 2020 and I've not left.
Wow, lucky. They were like, oh, you're not allowed to, you got to hunker down and stay where you are. And like, oh, I'm in paradise. Great idea.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm in one of the top holiday destinations in the world and I get to live here.
Beautiful. And your computer allows you to connect with everybody wherever they are and you can be where you are.
Yeah.
So that's magic right there. That's great. So
I used to travel the world teaching and it's so much easier doing it online now.
Yeah, really. And you can hit so many more ears and brains. It's just amazing with the possibilities. And I would like to, offer further conversations, and I will send you a recording of this, and it will be edited nicely with a thumbnail for you if you'd like to share it, or just to keep it for yourself.
Yes.
And thank you so much. And thank you, listeners, for listening. Please visit magicalnewbeginnings.com and go visit her free course. I mean, it's 8 a.m. is actually 8 p.m. the 5th of January would be the 4th of January, 8 p.m.
That's UK Eastern. Time. That's UK time. Thailand
right
time.
There's
it's afternoon, so it'd be early morning for you, about 4 in the morning. So.
Oh, I see that, 4 in the morning. Well, that's all right. But we can, we can absorb this free information that you're offering
Absolutely. And I can send you a copy of it anyway if you want to.
God bless.
Or anybody that signs up will get a copy of it as well. So
Awesome. Sharon King, thank you so much for being here with us today. And I am so thankful that you could help us to understand, like, really, that's what understanding the trauma and why. And that was right. That was you. Like hacking at that right at the beginning, like you just told us, okay, this is how it works,
Yeah.
this is why. And we've been going at that question forever. Like, it's great that you're just like whacking at the roots, like, okay, this is what it is. And we love that here. And all of the nuts and bolts and all of the like pieces of information and knowledge, like our ears are sponges, so please bring more again in the future, I hope. So
anytime.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Wonderful. So we will thank you listeners for listening, and we will see you next time.